Hey, Jeremy here with Poolside Games, and today I want to talk about movies. I love movies. I like movies so much I got a degree in film. Yeah, I didn't really do anything with it, but I have one. And specifically, I want to talk about video games based on movies. So, it used to be growing up when I was a kid back in the 90s, every movie that was big had lots of tie-ins. You go to McDonald's, you go to Burger King, they all were advertising the movie. You go to the toy store, they had toys for it. You'd go, everywhere. Every movie that was big was everywhere. So, obviously, they all had video games. And I remember playing a lot of these video games, liking some of them. I actually remember liking quite a few of them. But video games based on movies have a pretty bad rap. So I want to go back, look at some of these games because it has been a long time since I've played them. I'm going to look at them, talk about the movie a little bit, look at all these games that are based on a particular movie, and see if it really is as bad as the reputation about these games is, or if they're actually pretty good, like I remember them being. So let's get started. So the first movie I wanted to go over and discuss has a lot of games based on it. Came out in 1993. It's Jurassic Park, which I assume you've seen. Everyone's seen it. Classic film, directed by Steven Spielberg. Now, as I said, came out in 1993. Cool thing about 1993 is it was kind of the end of the NES life cycle. I think the end of 1994 was like the last official game that was released for the system. But we also had, by that point, the Genesis, the Super Nintendo, Sega CD, Game Boy was out, Game Gear was out. So all of these great retro systems were out when this movie came out. And they all got a version of this game. Most of them are very different. Some of them are similar. Like the NES and the Game Boy are almost the same game. But a lot of them are very different. And a lot of them are actually really good. So we're going to be looking at all of the games that I have played that are based on the first movie. So if nothing here about Lost World, Jurassic Park 3, anything past that. There are some other great games though. The Lego Jurassic World game is great and should be played. Tall Tale did a Jurassic Park game called Jurassic Park the Game, which I enjoyed. It was actually really fun to play through. But we are just going to be looking at the games based on the first movie. And then there were games based on the games based on the first movie that was not the Lost World, called Jurassic Park Part 2. And we'll be going over those as well, at least the ones I played. Again, I don't have a 3DO. Never have. So there's a Jurassic Park game on the 3DO that I have never played. But I do have the Nintendo, the Game Boy, the Super Nintendo, the Genesis, the Sega CD, the Game Gear, and then Jurassic Park 2 on the Super Nintendo, Game Boy, and Genesis. And we're going to be looking at all of them today and seeing what I think. The first game I'd want to talk about is the NES version. As you can see, Ocean. So, as I said, they did all the ones for the Nintendo. It's okay. It's an average game. It's got a great soundtrack, though. If you haven't played it, it's worth playing, in my opinion, at least, for the soundtrack. It's level-based, which is different than the Super Nintendo version, which is completely open world. A little bit of text at the beginning telling you what to do. You go around, you collect the dinosaur eggs, which gives you a key card. You can get into a building or wherever you're going, collect more dinosaur eggs. It's okay. Like I said, it's fun. It's just not great, but great soundtrack. Now the Game Boy version is Jurassic Park. I like this one more than the NES version, even though it's very similar. There are a couple of spots where there are some differences. One of the main things that I liked different about this game was I did not like the T-Rex fight in the NES version. And you have to do it at the end of the second level, And then they just throw in another fight at the very end of the game. Like you go through everything and you get to the helipad. And in the Game Boy version, that's the end. In the NES version, you get to the end, and then you have to do another T-Rex fight with, this time, both Lex and Tim, for some reason, are in danger. And they just threw this in there like a final boss fight. It didn't work for me, and since I hated the T-Rex fight, it was really annoying. That is not in the Game Boy version. So yeah, good game. Great soundtrack. Like it more than the NES again, even though it's almost the same. Okay, next let's talk about the Super Nintendo version. This is the best version that Ocean did of their games. It's kind of cool. It starts off like the NES and the Game Boy version, where it's an overhead view. But when you go into the buildings, it's first person, and you have to remember when this came out, it came out late '93, and it came out though before Doom did. Like Doom came out in like I think November of '93 or December, end of the year. So this came out I think August, maybe October. So it came out right before Doom, which means the only really big like push on FPS was Wolfenstein. I mean, there have been a few little things, but Wolfenstein 3D was the first like mainstream big FPS game. So the fact that they had a part of the Jurassic Park game was FPS and running, looking as good as it did on a Super Nintendo was really cool back when this came out. And this, unlike the NES and the Game Boy, is not level based. It's totally open. You can roam anywhere on the island. So if you like exploration games, there's a lot of exploring to do in this game, and that's great. It can be kind of long though. Okay, so we are done talking about the Nintendo ones that were made. The ones by Ocean, which were the Game Boy, NES, and Super Nintendo. We're going to move on to the Sega ones, and we're going to start with the Genesis version. And this game's great. I don't know what else to say about it. It has great graphics, great sound, great music. You get to play as two characters. You can play as Grant and the Raptor. It's a lot of fun. If you haven't tried this game, definitely check it out. Yeah, that's it. I mean, we're going to move on. This one is great if you haven't had a chance. As I said, it ties for my favorite game. The other one that I would say is the Sega CD version, which is personally, I think, a great game. I love it. We'll get to that in a second, though. Okay, so next, though, we're going to talk about the Game Gear one. This is a great game. If you have a Game Gear and you have not played this, you absolutely should. I don't know that I like the term hidden gem. That being said, you might want to consider this a hidden gem on the system. I don't know that it's as well known as the Genesis version, but it should be played. It starts off with a great cinematic of the helicopter flying toward the island, which for a Game Gear game was really impressive. Then there are 4 different levels to play from, and you can pick whatever order you want to do them in. And then you pick the level. There's a little like mini game where you're driving in a Jeep and shooting. And then the level starts as a 2D platforming game. A lot of fun. Again, if you have a Game Gear, play it. It is a great game. Okay, and finally, Jurassic Park for the Sega CD. This ties with the Genesis for my favorite Jurassic Park game. It is a graphic adventure. You are dropped onto the island after the events of the movie, and you have to go around, explore the island looking for eggs to get off the island. And so you have to find different eggs of different dinosaurs. So you're looking for like a T-Rex egg, raptor eggs, triceratops, all kinds of different eggs. And you have to go to different parts of the island to find all of these. I like graphic adventures quite a bit. So that might be why I like this game so much, but it is a great game. I liked this game back when it came out. And I think it came out a little bit later than everything else. I think this one was released like early '94. And I remember playing it way back then, and I loved it then. And I hadn't played it for a long time, and I played it more recently. and again was just totally drawn in. Great game. So if you have a Sega CD, this is a great option as well because it's still kind of a cheap game for Sega CD. Sega CD games get really pricey, and this one's still only about $15. So absolutely worth picking up and playing if you haven't given it a chance yet. Haven't tried it yet. Okay, so that was it for all of the Jurassic Park games that we're going over. Now, what we're going to go over now are like the sequels. These aren't based on The Lost World. These are games that they made as sequels to the Jurassic Park games. So they're not based on any movies or anything. They're just sequels to the games. And the first one we're going to talk about is the Super Nintendo version, which is Jurassic Park 2: The Chaos Continues. And it's okay. I found this game tedious a little bit. It's a 2D side scroller, which is completely different than what they did with the first one, where the first one was partially overhead, partially, first person in the buildings, a lot of exploration. This is just an action game. You can pick whatever level you want to go to first, but as soon as you finish a level, there's an emergency and you end up running another level. So this game, I felt just like went on forever. I have played through it a couple of times, but it was tedious. I also felt like the dinosaurs, especially the raptors sometimes, would just be there and you would be attacked. Sometimes before you could even have a chance to react. I don't know, maybe it was just me, but it was kind of hard to get through. There's a 2-player co-op, which was cool, except, again, I had a hard time with it. It seemed like you died a lot more trying to figure out how to play 2-player. But it was okay. Okay, so next up is Jurassic Park 2: The Chaos Continues on the Game Boy. This game is side-scrolling like the Super Nintendo, but completely different in every other way. I actually really like this game. The music is back from the first one on the Game Boy, which I've already said was great and I love. So I love the music on this game. And it was fun. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed playing through it. Again, kind of a hidden gem on the system because I don't think a lot of people realize that there was a second Jurassic Park game that came out on the Game Boy. I think the first one's more well known than the second one, and you may have completely missed this one. It is worth playing. I thought it was great. So if you have a chance to pick it up, it's a lot of fun. Okay, the last game we're going to go over is Jurassic Park Rampage Edition for the Genesis. This game is crazy. It plays a lot like the first one, but it is totally over the top action. There's a level where you are running through fields riding a Gallimimus while shooting bad guys as well as dinosaurs. There's a chapter where you can play as the raptor again. You can play as Grant and the raptor, and the raptor can double jump, and the double jump is like a spin attack. And the end of one of the levels, I think there's a helicopter, and you actually destroy the helicopter by using your double jump into it. I mean, stuff that was like totally over the top. It was absolutely crazy. So it was fun to play through. Did not like it as well as the first one, but it wasn't bad. So yeah, it was totally crazy and aptly named with Rampage Edition. So wrapping up Jurassic Park games. I like a lot of them. I think there's a lot of really good games here. As I said, all of the Sega ones, the 3 that we brought up for the Game Gear, Genesis, and Sega CD should all be played on those respective systems. They are excellent games. So, Jurassic Park certainly does not deserve to be looked at as a bad game. I mean, there's nothing really bad here. The NES version is my least favorite, and it's just an average game. And they go from average to good. So, certainly no bad games here. So, Jurassic Park gets a pass from me in the movies to video game category. Thank you guys for watching.